Welcome to the Running Library. Today we're breaking down the key ideas from Influence by Robert Cialdini. Let's get into it. You're not as independent as you think, at least not in the moments that matter most, like when you're buying, agreeing, donating, clicking, or saying yes. Robert Cialdini's book Influence is basically a field guide to the subtle forces that steer human decisions, often without us noticing, and it's unsettling in the best way because once you see the patterns, you start catching them everywhere. So, what's this book about at a high level? Influence explores why people comply, why we say yes, even when it's not fully in our interest. Cialdini doesn't frame this as people are dumb. He frames it as people are efficient. Our brains use shortcuts to make fast decisions, and most of the time, those shortcuts work. The problem is, the same shortcuts that help us navigate daily life can be used to manipulate us. The book breaks these shortcuts into a set of core principles that show up in sales, marketing, negotiations, relationships, workplace dynamics, fundraising, pretty much any situation where one person wants another person to do something. And what makes Influence so readable is that it doesn't just stay theoretical. It's packed with real-world scenarios. Everything from retail tactics to social pressure to how small commitments snowball into big ones. It's not a book that says, here's how persuasion works in a lab. It's a book that says, here's how persuasion works in the wild. Now, who's this for? This is for anyone who wants to be harder to manipulate and better at making decisions under pressure. It's also for people who persuade for a living. Marketers, salespeople, founders, managers, recruiters, fundraisers, and creators. Especially that if you want to do it ethically and transparently. Who is it not for? If you're looking for a purely academic psychology text with heavy research breakdowns, this isn't that. Cialdini is research-based, but the book is written for broad audiences, and it leans heavily on examples and practical patterns. Also, if you want a dark arts manipulation manual, you can technically misuse the ideas, but the tone of the book is much more about awareness and defense than turning you into a professional con artist. With that in mind, let's get into 6 key takeaways you can start noticing immediately, along with examples you've probably experienced. First takeaway: reciprocity is a powerful trap because it doesn't feel like a trap. Reciprocity is the pressure to give back when someone gives to you. It's one of the most automatic social rules we have. If someone does you a favor, gives you a gift, or offers something for free, you feel a pull to return it, even if you didn't ask for it. Example: you walk into a store and someone offers you a free sample, a free trial, a free consultation, a free audit. Even if it's small, it creates a subtle imbalance. They gave, you received. And suddenly, buying something feels like being fair, not being sold to. Another example: a coworker does a small favor you didn't request, and later asks you to cover a shift or support an idea you don't fully agree with. The favor becomes a social IOU. How to use this ethically? If you're persuading, give real value first, something genuinely helpful, not a cheap trick. How to defend yourself? Pause and ask, would I say yes if I hadn't received that free thing? If the answer is no, you can still be polite without paying the reciprocity tax. Second takeaway: commitment and consistency make small yeses dangerous. People want to appear consistent, both to others and to themselves. If you commit to something publicly or in writing, you're more likely to follow through even when it no longer makes sense. Example: a salesperson doesn't start by asking you to buy the expensive package. They start with tiny agreements. Do you care about quality? Would you prefer saving time? Does that sound reasonable? Each yes is a brick. Later, when the actual offer comes, saying no feels like contradicting the person you just presented yourself to be. You see this online too. Take this quick quiz. Create your profile. Choose your preferences. Start your free trial. The more steps you take, the more you feel committed to finishing. Even if the product isn't that great, you've already invested effort, identity, and a little bit of pride. Defense. Watch for situations where you're being guided into a series of small commitments. When the big ask arrives, zoom out and evaluate it fresh. You're allowed to update your mind. Consistency is a virtue, but blind consistency is a vulnerability. Third takeaway, social proof is your brain outsourcing decisions to the crowd. Social proof is the idea that when we're uncertain, we look to what other people are doing to decide what's correct. It's not inherently bad. It's efficient. If you're in an unfamiliar city and you see one restaurant packed and another empty, you assume the packed one is better. Often you're right, but social proof becomes dangerous when it's manufactured or when the crowd is wrong. Example: bestseller, most popular, trending. People like you bought over 10,000 five-star reviews. Even if those signals are legitimate, they can override your actual needs. You don't buy what's best for you. You buy what's socially validated. And there's a second layer Cialdini emphasizes. We're especially influenced by people similar to us. So people like you is not just a phrase, it's a persuasion lever. The more a testimonial matches your identity, the more it bypasses skepticism. Defense. Ask, popular among whom and for what purpose, and do I have the same constraints and goals as the people in these reviews? Social proof should inform you, not decide for you. Fourth takeaway, liking makes persuasion feel like friendship. We say yes more often to people we like. That sounds obvious, but Cialdini breaks down why we like people. Attractiveness, similarity, compliments, familiarity, and association. Example: the friendly salesperson who mirrors your language, shares your hobbies, and gives you sincere sounding compliments may be doing it naturally, or may be trained to do it. Either way, it works. Another example: influencer marketing. You don't feel like you're being pitched by a company. You feel like you're taking advice from someone you know. That sense of familiarity can be powerful even when the relationship is one way. Defense. Separate the person from the proposal. You can like someone and still say no. A useful mental move is to imagine the exact same offer delivered by someone you don't like. Would you still accept it? If not, liking is driving the decision. Fifth takeaway. Authority shortcuts your critical thinking. We tend to comply with authority figures, titles, uniforms, credentials, confident tone, even the aesthetics of expertise. Again, this isn't irrational. In many areas, expertise matters. The problem is that signals of authority can be faked, and even real experts can be wrong outside their domain. Example: a specialist recommends an add-on you don't understand. A doctor-approved label appears on a product. A manager speaks with certainty about a plan that hasn't been tested. Authority can also be subtle. A suit, a badge, a polished presentation deck, a wall of certificates. Defense. Ask for reasoning, not just credentials. Ask, what's the evidence? What are the alternatives? What would change your mind? Real authority can handle questions. Fake authority gets irritated by them. Sixth takeaway. Scarcity makes you panic buy. Scarcity is the sense that an opportunity is limited. Limited time, limited quantity, limited access. When something feels scarce, we value it more, and we act faster, with less analysis, because we're afraid of missing out. Example: only 3 left. Offer ends tonight. Applications close at midnight. Exclusive invite-only access. Sometimes scarcity is real. Sometimes it's engineered. Either way, it creates urgency, and urgency is the enemy of good judgment. A key detail in Cialdini's discussion is that scarcity often spikes when something is newly scarce, when availability is reduced, or when you're told you can't have something. Restrictions don't just limit access, they increase desire. Defense. Create your own buffer. When you feel urgency, that's the signal to slow down. Decide a personal rule like, if it costs more than X dollars, I wait 24 hours. Or, if it's a subscription, I read the cancellation terms before I click anything. Now that you've got the 6 principles in your head, reciprocity, commitment, and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity, what do you do with them besides noticing them everywhere? Here's a simple 3-step action plan you can actually see apply. Step 1 is start labeling the tactic in real time. When you feel yourself getting pulled into a yes, name what's happening. Literally say in your head, this is reciprocity, or this is scarcity, or this is social proof. Labeling creates distance. It turns a feeling into a pattern, and patterns are easier to evaluate than emotions. Step 2. Insert a pause and ask one clarifying question. You don't need to become cynical. You just need a speed bump. For reciprocity, did I ask for this gift or favor? For commitment, am I agreeing because it's right or because I already said yes earlier? For social proof, are these people actually like me in the ways that matter? For liking, would I accept this offer from someone I didn't like? For authority, what's the evidence and what are the trade-offs? For scarcity, will I still want this next week? One question is often enough to break the spell. Step 3. Choose one principle to use ethically this week. If you lead a team, sell a product, teach, or create content, you're persuading whether you admit it or not. So pick one principle and apply it in a way that genuinely helps people. Use reciprocity by giving a useful checklist or a real tutorial before asking for anything. Use social proof by sharing honest testimonials that match the right audience, not exaggerated hype. Use authority by being transparent about your expertise and your limits. Use commitment by helping people make small, meaningful promises to themselves, like a simple onboarding step that builds a real habit. The goal is influence without deception. To wrap up, Influence is one of those books that changes how you see everyday life. After you read it, you start spotting persuasion not as a rare event, but as the background radiation of modern society. Ads, emails, meetings, websites, even casual conversations. And the big message isn't never be influenced. That's impossible. The message is know the levers. Because when you know the levers, you can decide when they're being used on you and when you want to use them responsibly. If you're building a career, a business, or just trying to make better decisions, this book gives you a practical advantage. It helps you slow down at exactly the moments when the world is trying to speed you up. This has been The Running Library. If you want more psychology and book breakdowns that make you sharper, not just more informed, subscribe. And tell me in the comments, which of the 6 principles do you notice most in your own life? If you found this summary helpful, subscribe to The Running Library for new insights every day. And tell me in the comments what book or article you want next.